Hello and welcome to the Gran Turismo World Series. I'm Graham, also known as Graham Turismo on PSN, and I'm going to cover some of the highlights of my first race here in the GT World Series. This is actually round 2, which is being held at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. I missed round 1 because of the holidays, but I'm here for round 2, and as you can see, everyone is lined up on track now in position after qualifying. This is the starting order, and I've qualified in 7th place, and you'll see that I've chosen to go with Citroën for this season. I'll be driving the GT in Group 4 and 3, and as we get through the rest of the field here, I just want to say that this is my first shot at the Gran Turismo World Series, and it's also my first attempt at doing a commentary, so bear with me. We will get started. The race here is 16 laps, and it is a rolling start to kind of reduce the amount of chaos in the first couple of corners. And without further ado, let's get started. You can see that I have the Gulf livery on my Citroën GT. This is one that I found by another creator, and I just thought it looked really cool and wanted my Citroën GT to look like a race car. And as we come around turn 12 here, P1 will cross the start-finish line and begin the race, and we are good to go. Green lights. I got a pretty good start there, so I'm going to come up the inside of this Hyundai here because a lot of guys botch this first turn because you kind of have to slow down and accelerate at the same time. So I knew I could get up inside of him there, and there was a little bit of contact in front of me. Not too bad. And turn 3 here, the apex for that is kind of hard to get quite right. You should be able to hit that at about 80, and I'm pretty consistently hit it around 75. And this apex here on turn 5 is another tough one. I went a little wide on the track there. I'm going to pick up a penalty for that. Yep, there's that half-second penalty. That kind of sucks. Down through turn 6 and turn 7. Turn 7, I think, to me, is the most important turn to master because it sets you up for good acceleration down the back straight. If you have a bad corner exit on turn 7, you're going to have a slower lap. And it seems like a lot of these guys here, I served the penalty right around turn 9. Oh, here's turn 9. And then down into the chicane here, turn 10. And then back up over the hill where you can't really see where you're going. There's turn 11 and 12. And then back across the line. That's the first lap done. Not too bad. I've already gained 1 spot. I'm in 6th place here. Again, I seem to be able to catch most people here. Oh, look, this guy's got a pretty decent run on the GTR, but then he dipped in a little bit. Oh, he a little too hard on the brakes, so I got past him there, and now I'm on the tail of the GTR. The apex for turn 4A into the S's there is always a tough one for me because I can't really see it. When the car is very low, I can't tell where that apex is. A lot of times I manage to maybe turn in a little too early and miss it. but we'll just go through the first couple of laps here, and then we'll skip through most of the race and get to the end. Also, on turns 6 and 7, if you take it a little too slow, you can end up running up onto the curb there, which can kind of throw your car for a little bit of a spin, so you got to be careful. Not doing too terribly here through the chicane and up across the hill, down around turn 11s and 12. And after 2 laps, I'm up 2 spots. That's pretty good. If you can master the braking and acceleration and get around turn 1 at the highest speed possible, then you're really good. Again, turn 3, it's kind of hard to catch that apex. It's also really easy to cut that a little too much and pick up a penalty there. And also right here, turn 5 is pretty tough sometimes to shed off enough speed to make that turn without slowing down too much. As you can see here, I cut a little too much into there. I got pretty good exit speed there, but this V8 Vantage behind me is gotten pretty close. He wants his 5th position back. And as we come down the back straight, he's getting a good draft on me here. And as I brake for the chicane, I can just sort of see that he's going for a lunge, and he's got way too much speed, and I can just tell he was really hoping that I would turn in there and he could bank off of me and still make that turn. But I paused for just a split second before turning in and let him zoom past me into the grass, and now he's all the way back down to like 10th or some shit like that. So that puts a nice gap between me and 6th place there. I'm looking at like a 6-second gap almost. The top 4 guys are all running pretty close together, and I really like to catch up with them, and I think I can do that in a few turns. You know, maybe give me a couple of good clean laps, I can catch up and run with the front runners. But as for right now, I've got some pretty clean air. I don't have to worry too much about it. Anyone sneaking up behind me. All I need to do is just run a nice steady race, and I'll slowly start chipping away at the leaders and catch back up to them. Alright, coming down into turn 6 here on lap 5, ended up slowing down just a little bit too much, ended up in the grass there and got a little wonky, and then into turn 7, I ended up on the curb here, beached myself a little bit, which got me a little wonky, tossed me into the grass, and really kind of ruined my flow that I had going there. Thankfully, I have a large enough gap behind me that I don't get passed by anyone, but I do end up losing quite a bit of time. And I was gaining on the group of 4 guys that are all running a front pack there, and I was getting close to them, but then I just ended up screwing it up for myself. So I'll have to spend the next few laps trying to make up for that little mistake. Coming up on the end of lap 6 here, there's a yellow flag briefly, which means someone ahead of me has gone off track. But it's gone pretty quickly, so I guess they just kind of veered off and then got back on path. I don't know what's going on up there with those four guys. They're running pretty close together. I'm sure there's a little bit of contact. And as I come around T1, there's another yellow flag. So these guys are bumping, and somebody got shunted off. Oh gosh, there's a guy in the Porsche Cayman there, and he is almost all the way back, and now he's within grasp. So I think I'm going to be able to catch him. This feels really good to be able to get up into 4th place, hopefully. But after that little run off into the grass that I had, I've got this WRX kind of coming up behind me as well, so it's pretty close. A nice little middle pack here. Oh, he went kind of wide there. I went a little too tight, but I'm definitely going to catch the giraffe on him here. And I'll be able to hopefully get around him eventually. I'm not going to try and dive down the inside of him on the chicane or anything, because as you see what happened with the Aston that tried to do that on me, that never works out so good. So I'm just going to play patient here. I'm going to stay behind him, and eventually I'll get around him. Get a pretty good exit speed through the chicane there, down around 11 here. He seems to be going a little bit wide. He ended up not making the grip that he needed for that turn, so he just kind of rode off into the grass. So that turned out to be a much easier pass for me than I thought. And now I'm up into 4th place. However, as we are now coming up on the end of lap 8 here, this is halfway through the race already. I'm in 4th place, and I don't really want to battle with this guy. I'm at about 1/8 of a tank of fuel, so it's time to come in for a pit stop and top off on fuel for the rest of the race. The Corvette ahead of me also decided to come in. The Porsche Cayman decided to stay out, so we switched some positions there. But not to worry, everybody's going to have to come in within the next lap or so for fuel. So I may drop down the order, but it'll make up for it real soon. As I pull out of the pit, I end up back in 14th place behind some of these slower guys, so I already know that I can tell immediately this guy in the Viper is not that fast and his lines are not very good. So I'm going to try and pass him right here, which ultimately leads to my downfall, because trying to get around him, I bump him and then I end up in the sand, and then he's in the sand and he rams into me and spins me around, and now I have dropped all the way to last place. So I have a lot of making up to do. Even though a good half of the field or so may still be coming into pit, I'm now way behind the curve, and I'm going to have to play catch up. And as I'm approaching the penalty zone on the back straight here, I see a car in the distance, and I give up hope that I'm going to catch him. But apparently his penalty was much larger than mine, because even though I got slowed down a little bit, he was very slowed down. So I got past him anyway. And as I make it through the chicane here and come down across the hill, and down through turns 11 and 12, across the line, I see there are a few people going into the pit here, so I should be able to pick up a position or two. And there's some people coming out of the pit there. One guy's got a 3-second penalty. That's for cutting across the lines. Oh, that guy is going to pick up a penalty for track limits there, half a second. I'm trying to play a little bit more patient here. These guys are playing bumper cars. These are the not so good drivers that are usually in the back of the pack, and unfortunately I'm stuck in the middle of them right now, so I'm just going to try and maintain my patience, because I know that I didn't mean to bump that guy, but I got tapped behind by the Aston Martin, and everybody's just playing bumper cars. Unfortunately, some people suffer more than others. I think this guy behind me here has got the 3-second penalty, the Hyundai. And he's going to serve that here. Yep, and then the other guy. So now it's just me and the Aston again. Now I'm not going to try and cut up the inside of him on the chicane here, like he did to me. I'll just wait. I already know that he's not that great of a driver, and I'll eventually catch him. All it takes is patience. Still got 5 laps left. Coming across the hill here, I'm actually kind of surprised to see how many cars are very close and within grasp. And as the Aston makes his way around a Porsche here, he kind of overcooks it into the turn and goes off into the grass. So there's my 5th position back, and possibly 4th from this Porsche. But it looks like, unfortunately, I just picked up a penalty for cutting too close on T3 again. So I may not be able to catch 4th place. Now the Super knows that I'm about to serve my penalty here, so he gets to go by nice and easy. Hopefully I don't get passed by anyone else. Oh, now there's a Corvette coming right up behind me, and he wants to go through there, so I'm just going to let him go through. I'm not trying to drive too crazy. We are all bunched up here. The more people battle in front of me, the more likely they are to slow one another down and hopefully give me some openings to get by. Coming down the back straight on lap 14, do I have enough speed to get around the Corvette? In the draft, I peek out of the draft for just a moment to take a look, see if I can get around him. No, I don't have what it takes, so I'm just going to pull back in behind and... Oh, missed my braking point by just a bit. I knock him into the Supra, and unfortunately for the Supra, he was mid-turn, so that messed up his corner. I feel a little bad about that, but you know, rubbin's racing, so we gotta get going. I got a good run down the front straight. Will I pass the Corvette? Will I pass him? I don't know. I'm just gonna bump him for a little bit. I'm not going to try and pass him. Alright, 2 laps left here. Oh, everybody's kind of heavy, rubbing one another, pushing this way and that way. Oh, there goes the Audi TT. He's gone, and we move up another position. The Corvette and the Porsche are bumping now. Who's going off? The Corvette's off. The Porsche's off. Oh, the Porsche's next to me. Has he got enough speed? No, I managed to get in front of the Porsche too. And the Corvette picked up a half-second penalty for track limits there. Will I be able to maintain this? This is pretty crazy for the last couple laps of the race here. Okay, past the Corvette, and all I've got to do now is make it through the chicane and give one last clean lap, and I'll be taking home third. Let's see what happens. Fuck! And there's a penalty for track limits on turn 3. I exclaimed the moment I hit that curve. I knew that I didn't make the turn. So unfortunately the Corvette's going to get past me one way or the other. I'm just going to let him go around. I don't want to ruin anyone's race here. I just have to hope that serving the penalty doesn't put me within the grasp of anyone else. Thankfully, I had enough of a gap behind me that I wasn't able to be caught up by anyone else. I make it safely through the chicane and up over the hill, and I have managed to hang on to 4th place for my first race in the GT World Series Manufacturers Cup. Up from 7th to 4th, not a bad race at all.
PlayStation